Greetings. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want people to get on in the room. Just take a moment to just breathe it in. And I'm going to keep on getting myself ready over here. Just take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And welcome, welcome, welcome. If you don't mind, share this with a few people in Messenger. I know that when happened with there we go. Okay. So just take a breath and just take in the day. We're going to share. How many of you watched last night? How many of you watched with my live with Dr. G, who hopefully will be able to join us a little bit later? I do want to ask if a few of you will share this out. Share and join us on in the room. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. All right. Thank you for letting me know that you're here. So for those of you who are joining for the first time, I'm LaTanya Taylor, affectionately known as the Rev Coach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, the Priestess of Purpose, Pleasure, and Passion. And this is our Wednesday, Womanhood Wisdom Wednesday, where we come in and I share news you can use. I share how you can take this into a supplemental place of your work. Islam, sis, welcome, welcome. Thank you. I'm so glad that you were there and that you got into the room. Some people may still be clicking around, but you all are here. Thank you so much for joining on last night. If you don't mind, I didn't get a chance to share this in Facebook. If you know how to do that, go into Facebook and share. Hey, your girl is live, so we can get as many people in here. We got some new folks. We want to have some new conversations. So let me just talk to you a little bit while we do that, because I want to talk to you as we prepare. You know, last night was phenomenal. How it manifested was really the phenomenal nature about how that manifested. And you all know we've been talking about manifestation. We've been living in manifestation. We've been doing so much when it comes to this work, right? And so I want to just have a conversation with you. If you would like to come onto the live to share any of your experiences, because it felt so good talking to my sister, Dr. G, in ministry. It always feels so good when we find each other, because there's a tendency to shut down, to be alone on the journey when you come out of a religious mindset. So let me just fix this camera a little bit. I'm trying to work with myself and not shut everything down over here, because it's a Mercury retrograde and I'm mercurial. And so I just want to get into your video a little bit more without all of the nope, that's not gonna work. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Thank you. So my beloved Keela is here. Keela, if you can take the link and send it to a few of our sisters in Messenger, I certainly appreciate this. I don't even know right now how to do it. So hopefully you will be able to hear from some of our sisters. So listen, this is what I want to share with you. How apropos, you know, I cannot make this up when I talk about the idea of how you live your spiritual life, not just as something that you do on the side, but that your spiritual life is your life. in terms of being able to manifest the desires of your heart. It's a real thing. And just being in the space with my sisters, many of you all don't know, only some of you who study would know and understand this particular thing that I'm about to share with you, which is oftentimes there's a private aspect to your freedom. There's a private aspect to your freedom at a certain point in the journey where you start to study information and access information that rocks your entire world. I thought that religion was the thing that rocked my world, that shifted me. I'm looking for something to prop this thing up on. If you see me moving around, that's what I'm doing. We're going to get it together over here because we're in a high-speed technological world, technological universe. So I'm just over here. There we go. There we go. All right. And so if you have the link to join, because some of you say that you don't see the link to join, I've sent it to Patricia, who will also be joining us, and she'll send it to you if you want to join. I can also possibly share it with Keela. But when you start on this journey, sometimes you start wanting to get out of pain. Sometimes you start the journey pissed off because you've been lied to, or you realize that you've been lied to. Other times you start the journey, it could be because something just doesn't add up, or you know one thing, but you don't know another thing. And that's I'm very passionate about that. No matter how much I evolve in my understanding of certain truth, and there are a lot of evolved beings walking on this planet who can help you, who can support you, but oftentimes they have to go through a prodigal process. The prodigal process is necessary. However, we sometimes think the first thing that we tend to believe is that it's not right, that it's not something that we are supposed to be experiencing. But the prodigal part of the process is necessary for your freedom. No matter whether you are a lay person, whether you are clergy, if you are looking to be born and to unlearn out of one circle and just go into another circle, oftentimes that's escapism. That's the tendency to not want to have to do whatever the refinement work, and it still is the program of somebody telling you what to do. And then when they tell you and it doesn't work exactly like they told you to do it, it's easy to make them wrong. So if you left the church making the church wrong, if you left the church mad at the bishop, and not looking and asking yourself questions about how did I get here? Why am I here? If you did not enter into that journey, I want you to tune in, because this is the year where freedom is calling. Freedom is calling many of us. The key in the question that Dr. G and I see you, Keela. I'm going to bring you in. Don't jump in and out. I'm going to bring you in just a moment. So hold on. And I have a surprise for you if she can get in. But the whole thing is we have to understand, my beloveds, on several levels of a few things that I didn't get a chance to share, and I want to hear your stories. I want to be able to hear from you what you heard from last night. But I want you to know the season that we are in. We're getting ready to go into a new moon where it's going to be a stellium in Aquarius. 7 planets are going to be lined up in Aquarius. Aquarius is the energy of surprises, spontaneity, rebellious energy. It is the energy of revelation, because it serves humanity, higher mind. And so there are people in our bloodline and outside of our bloodline that are looking to Patricia, I see that you're trying to come in, but it says that your device is not connected. It says that your device is not connected. So work on your technology. you need to connect your mic and before I can add you to the stream. So we're going to hear from some of our sisters who have gone through this journey, but understand when you're listening that sometimes your story is blessing somebody else's story to be able to give them permission to have the courage to ask one question and then the next question, and then maybe to read the book, and then maybe to get into a process, because rites of passage is not foreign to us. It has become foreign, but it is a part of our ancient memory. And so when you give yourself permission to explore, why do I feel confined? Why does this not energetically match? This is the season to do it. But I also want to say that this is also the season for us to position ourselves to prosper, not just to be so spiritually minded on the spiritual stuff that you're no earthly good. There is a requirement on navigating the earth right now that we raise our vibration in order for our immune systems to be high enough to sustain the vibrational energy. That's to our diet. That speaks to our sensuality, that speaks to our sexuality, that speaks to many aspects of ourselves, mind, body, and spirit. And so this is the season. This is the season that we are with this 7. And in fact, you can't even control it. In fact, to stay stuck on your position, to stay in a certain mindset is literally the choice to die. Ooh, that's hard. I know it. And but I know sometimes some people cannot understand that. But when you're being called to live new and to breathe new and to move new and to invest in a different way, and we wonder why certain energy is not moving around us. So I want to hear what you all heard last night. Wow, the sisters are coming on in the room in here today. So I'm gonna unmute. I'm gonna start with Patricia, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna start with Patricia. Well, should I start with you, Dana, since you have limited time? Okay, no, don't start with you. Okay, cool. So thank you all for joining, and it's open. I'll try to get as many people as I can. I have a surprise that's going to be joining us shortly. But I want to just hear from you. I'll teach a little bit in between, but you all know how it goes down in the tribe. We say one thing and we spark life in one another. So Patricia, what is it when you were listening last night that you heard?
Last night I heard, first of all, it was impactful. I thought it was very impactful. And last night I heard the call to freedom. For me, being a preacher's kid, and the spaces and places I've been in, it's time to be free. I left from that session very, just crying and emotional, because it was like, if I don't do anything, then I'm going to lose it. Like nothing's going to happen for me in this space if I don't move beyond or past all of what I'm dealing with or going through.
I hear you getting emotional, and I definitely want to be sensitive to that, because this is an emotional topic for people. Can you be specific to help somebody who was a PK's kid? And I have my video up just because I'm going to work around this algorithm on Facebook, and we're going to get this message out that we are live, because the devil is a lie. If there is a devil, it's the lie that we believe from technology and being defeated by algorithms. I am the damn algorithm. Somebody just put that in freedom is the algorithm today. We will not be bound by Mark Zuckerberg and their so let's just keep it light. But if you are watching and you see this, it's because I'm inviting you to come into Rebirth Woman and join us. All right. So when you say that, babe, think about when you first started the journey. What was useful that you heard from 2 women ministers last night?
That they were, I guess, am I remembering that they were not confined, that they asked a lot of questions, that they explored more. They went deeper and outside of themselves. Like they had experiences that allowed them to go outside themselves and to ask a bunch of questions and to not be confined by religion. They weren't confined by religion and what we're taught as children or into our adulthood, that they went outside of that and they didn't really care what other people thought or what other people said. They lived into their truth.
Wow. How we do ahas, digestions, and questions? What was an aha that you had last night?
An aha last night was listening to the two women. That's where I'm at now.
Well, the two women was me and Dr. G.
I know you were one of the two women. And listening to me, let me be more specific. And listening to Reverend Coach LaTanya Taylor and then listening to Dr. Gilliam last night. That's the space I'm in now. Like I've had all these questions. I've had these questions for years, and now I'm at this space where it's like the questions, they won't stop coming. It's like it's in my face, and and you have to do something about it, as opposed to recoiling and going back to what is familiar, what is tradition. As
people, what questions did you have or do you have? Give me an example. Tell me.
I guess the question for me was there has to be there's more out there. There's something deeper on the spiritual level that's out there, and I want to know what it is.
And specifically what? What do you sense that it is?
That there's other people.
What have you witnessed that you saw working so closely in ministries that just is incongruent for you?
Incongruent for me is the way that women are treated in ministry.
See, we got to thank you. That's very specific. The way that women are treated in ministry.
And how they have to ask for permission to be able to do what it is that they do in ministry. And I don't think we should have to ask for permission except for someone, except from the higher power. Like my permission shouldn't be given to me by a man when God has given me the ministry and the gift to be able to go forth and to do what I've been told to do.
So you specifically mean like the idea that women aren't supposed to be pastors, stuff like that?
Yes.
Or that women can serve the ministry, but they can't preach.
Right.
What else? How women are treated?
They're told how to dress.
Yeah, help refresh my memory, because I honestly, when y'all gotta take yourself off mute. I legit am so far away from it that that's why sometimes journaling helps, and so you can remember where you were. And oh Lord, that's a shout right there. I feel like putting on some praise music right now and just doing a praise dance in my freedom, because I don't remember. And I remember praying the prayer. A shout out to Pastor Jim Webb from Tacoma Metaphysical Chapel, who said to throw your cares into the sea of forgetfulness. That sometimes we need to be bold enough to say, help me to forget. Some of us have specialized too much in remembering the pain. So thank you for refreshing my memory about women and limitations in the pulpit, how they treat women. What else?
The way I'm dressed today, like this would be faux pas if I'm inside of a building, or me speaking my mind, or saying me being careful about how I speak.
How has that affected your womanhood?
That has affected it probably a lot, because then I'm conservative when it may come to my dress, or I don't wear a lot of jewelry, or I'm careful about what I may say to people and how I say it, and in whose presence I may say it in. Or it's caused me, if I do go that route, which I have sometimes, then it causes me to get kicked out of spaces where they don't want me there.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Like, so
so,
what would get you kicked out of spaces?
so a prime example would be in the church I worked at prior to moving here, and I was very vocal in some of the things that I said, and the pastor did not like me, or he would say stuff, and I would be like, no, this is the way I need it to be, and maybe that's some other stuff that may have been coming out, but I was, and they were like, we don't need her to be in this because she's going to create or cause issues over here as a female. So I don't, you know, I now tend to stay away from those places and spaces
Okay.
because they don't.
I want you to think
It's constriction. It's a restriction. It's confining for me. And
stay
even now,
present. Stay present because I
okay.
can. The reason I think why you're here and the willingness to be here is so beautiful is because you are so fresh on the journey. On one hand, but on another hand, you made some bold moves that a lot of women so close to traditional ministry doesn't make. And that would be up to you to share. I can't be sharing your business. You have to share. So hold on, because you might hear from some sisters who've been further away, them articulate details that you just may not have even given yourself permission to be specific about. And one of the things that for those of you who are watching, I like working with you all so that you can learn how not to just put things in the highlights. Because what happens is sometimes in womanhood, we just tuck it away in a nice little package of, well, I'm just trying to find myself. But we are, or, I don't like this or that, but we don't get specific enough. And that's a key for manifestation, just like it is a key for healing. Because if you don't know if you don't know or haven't been released to look at what you're healing, then you will always continue to do it on your freedom journey. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Dana, you ready for us? Dana in the house. My boo is in the house. My boo is in the house.
Hey everyone. So last night was full and rich. And it's so funny because I had three things that I was writing down, and two of them were the two topics that Patricia touched on. That being that, you both talked about being able to explore, more than what you were taught in one church or one religion. And, even for me, having grown up in the Baptist church, I remember very early on wanting more than what my church offered me, so I then ended up in a Methodist church, and I was going to two churches at the same time. And then, I had friends in Pentecostal churches, and I wanted to go and explore that, So then when you come into yourself as a older woman, when you're young, you kind of flighty anyway. But when you start to come into yourself as an older woman and really want the knowledge, and you go out and you find exactly what you're looking for, it's almost like you pick up the book and you're like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be reading this, and you want to slam it shut. But at the same time, the inside of you is like, nope, I'm going to read this all the way through because there's something in here that I need to know. So that was huge last night when you all talked about that. And then the other thing was, like Patricia said, the dressing, when you talked about how, you had an elder to come to you and say, it's okay to show your legs. It's okay to, dress this way. I can remember being chastised in the pulpit for wearing open-toed shoes.
Hello.
And I was like, wait, here's the thing. It was twofold for me because number one, it was a man chastising me. And of course, my response went on the defense, and I told him straight up, that sounds like something you and God got to deal with, because if you have a foot fetish, that's not my problem. But the other thing was, yeah, right, Kayla. but the other thing was, didn't the Bible say come on to holy ground with your shoes off? So why am I being chastised for open-toed shoes?
Come on now.
So, being, confined in a certain dress code, that's a big deal I'm noticing over the years because, in your work, you have a certain dress code. At church, you have a certain dress code. In going to the grocery store now, you should have a certain dress code. And,
That's
even
so
growing
true,
up,
Dana. That's such a good point. As women, we get confined to these codes about how we're supposed to show up in different spaces. And somebody just put question marks. I don't know, because I can't see who you are. I don't know what those question marks mean. You have to literally articulate a question.
So that's my mother.
Okay, hey mother. She's reacting to what you're saying.
Yep. And that was funny because I was going to say, my mother is watching, but I can even remember, as a young adult, my mother saying, you don't walk out the house, looking any kind of way. So, even there was a dress code in how you presented yourself, basically to the world.
Yes.
But the third thing I'm going to tell you that got me last night was when you said, we're so busy trying to tell our kids what to do when we should be telling them what we didn't do. And I was like, whoa, that's huge. Because we're so busy trying to say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. But we never say, when I was your age, I didn't get to, or I didn't do this, or, if you just shift how you present it, I feel like that opens up a whole different world of conversation for your household, but also for this new generation. Like you were talking about the different generations.
Yes.
And I feel like it opens up a whole nother world.
Wow. That's powerful. And Dana is also a sister, a woman, a reverend sister who served in a traditional pulpit. You want to talk a little bit about that for other ministers?
So as I said, I grew up in the Baptist church. When I was in my mid-30s, I felt the call all my life when I was 12 years old, to serve God, and I knew that I was going to serve in some sort of preaching capacity. But in my 30s is when I decided to answer the call. And I went in the traditional church, the Baptist church. My mother will tell you she's still puzzled as to why I left. But, I felt a larger call as you begin to walk the journey. And, after meeting other sisters and meeting Latanya and just really diving deeper into studies and learning about spirituality and the different types of religions and how they're connected and, universal spirit, the shift was the best thing that I could have done for myself. Not everyone understands it. But, here's the thing. Not everyone understands the call, first of all. And it's not meant for everyone to understand.
Again, Dana. Everybody doesn't understand your call when you're in traditional ministry. Come on.
That's right. That's right. So, when, first of all, answering the call is for you and you alone. So it was for me and me alone. It wasn't for anyone else to understand. And the path that is laid before me, only I can walk. So anything else that anyone says, whether it be critical or encouragement, it really does not matter. What matters is my heart, your heart. What's the relationship that you have with spirit internally? And that's my motivation for moving forward, even in saying I no longer want to be in the traditional church.
Wow. Was it hard?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was difficult. I think at first it wasn't, because I was like, I'm done with it. When you get to that point, you're like, I'm done with this. And you just walk out. It wasn't that difficult, but it was difficult in the sense of you have a lot of people coming at you like, what is wrong with you? What do you do? Nothing is wrong with me. I'm doing what my heart is telling me to do. So you feel the pressure of your decisions from others. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, It's your decision, and it's between you and God, the divine, and that's what matters.
Did you think that God was going to punish you for studying other things and when you first started the journey? Because I know I was. Hell, I was the one who would open the book and read it and be put, Who
Well,
knew?
you know what? You know what? It was interesting for me because what started this whole
surprise here. Wait a minute, 1 second. The surprise is here. I'm not going to tell you who it is until I add the surprise. And so I just said that to acknowledge the surprise so that the surprise doesn't go anywhere. Continue, Dave.
You know, for me, what started the whole entire journey was I was in school, taking online classes with a Christian school. And I had gotten into one of my studies that had you reading about Hinduism and Buddhism and all the different religions. And then I started reading about the Council
of Nicaea.
The Council of Nicaea. And
Pause right there. Pause right there. You know, I always talk about the Council of Nicaea. And let me tell you, ministers who be checking for LaTanya, and then you go try to duplicate just what I'm saying, but you haven't done any Council of Nicaea studies, because if you really want the truth to set you free, it's going to piss you off first when you go study and understand the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea is just a prototype of many councils. We have councils right now making laws. Before you know it, if humanity does not start asking questions, which I think we will, I believe in the God in us because of the season that we're in. If humanity does not ask some questions about mass breathing in your own toxins, if humanity does not start asking questions after seeing a Super Bowl, but telling you that you cannot see your family members, if humanity does not start asking some questions, then this is the life that we create, because we'll have other Council of Nicaea that will have wearing masks and all those futuristic movies that we've been watching, because this particular being, this particular nefarious energy always gives you a peep into the future through his movies. The arts always tell you where the mind of this energy that is on this planet right now, this species that has been seeded. But the thing is awakeness, and people who are coming into their spiritual understanding, people are awakening and asking the right questions so that they can be able to free themselves. So I love that Dana must have had to leave. Did you have to leave, Dana? I want you to finish what you were saying about the Council of Nicaea.
Can you hear me?
I can see you and hear you. And then we're going to add the surprise in Keela.
Yeah, so, you know, I began to study all these things, and my curiosity just piqued. And I was like, wait a minute, this is not the stuff that they teach you in church. This is not the stuff this is not the information they teach from the pulpit. And that led to a series of events, which also led me to you and your teachings, and led me to so many others, you know, and that began my
ever since.
Yes, I've been juicy ever since. That began my juices to flow. Absolutely.
So don't go anywhere, Dana. I can't see your face, even though you're in the stream. It's completely black. I'm going to see if I can add our surprise into the space. I just want to cue up. First of all, it was such a divine manifestation. When I say tribe of the free, it's not just located here in Rebirth Woman. The tribe of the free is something that is not can be held in any container. When free women come together, you will attract other free women. And it is my honor and my privilege to tell you that this was instantaneous. I was sitting on the floor celebrating my sister, PJ, who I haven't seen in person, sharing with Dr. G on the House of Reawakening, sharing with Dr. G. And I was just so proud of my sister. If many of you all don't know, if PJ, if you're in the comments, because she is in the tribe, PJ is someone who she's called me her mentor. You all know in here, there are a lot of women who are much older than me who call me their mentor. And PJ is one of them. And she's gone on to be initiated as a priest in Ifa, a priestess in Ifa. And to see my sister, I was seeing with the eyes of something else. But at the same time, I was seeing myself. And I have been studying through the Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey for many years with my husband privately. And this is something we do when we mastermind. And this is for us and for those who want to know, because you have to be a seeker, and you cannot be spiritually lazy. So to see my sisters representing, I reached out to her because I don't be jockeying for people. I don't be checking for people. Not, yeah, that sometimes that's not a good trait to have. And so that means sometimes I don't ask. But when my sister, I reached out to her, and with literally in 30 seconds, this beautiful, esteemed soul, Dr. Naila Gilliam, who we affectionately call Dr. G, immediately invited me onto her show. Sometimes, y'all, we think it has to be difficult. Sometimes we think it has to be hard. I wasn't reaching out to her like some of you all reached out to me because of Fix My Life, and people who don't ever like a post, don't comment, don't engage, don't share, reach out to me to get to Iyanla. My sister, I just reached out to my sister and she invited, welcome Dr. G to Rebirth Woman. We're debriefing our conversation. You are so welcome in this space.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate the opportunity to be part today of this conversation, and hopefully to be part of many, many conversations in the future. Last night was amazing. It was awesome. And it was I'm sure that it's going to reverberate throughout, the days and weeks and months to come, and even years, because one of the things we find is that a lot of times it is the replay. It is the folks that didn't get there who then share it. When they do get it, they get something as if, so we put something on last night that it was going to, the energy and the love and the power of last night was going to reverberate to whomever, whenever.
Yes, my husband said those exact same words. And I was so worried about coming into a space that, in my opinion, he has influenced so much that I didn't slip up and say the wrong thing. Because the brothers are so technical, and I see things in terms of on the cosmology. Like, it's the cosmology that speaks to my freedom. And
Right.
And the cosmology confirms my freedom. And so, hey, Queen Mother, I want you to look into your messenger inbox. I would love for you to come into this conversation, because you also serve in a ministerial capacity and can put some language to what you heard and what you felt last night. So I'm going to bring on Keela real quick to share what we're just debriefing things that people, and we have a system that we use called ahas, digestions, and questions. And so, Keela, what were some of the ahas and digestions that you had from last night?
One of the ahas I had from last night was about, well, there were a couple. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. So there are a couple. One was about the way you dress when you were going out with your girlfriend, and it's okay to go have fun, enjoy yourself. Why can't we enjoy ourselves if we're here? Does it always have to be about, strict rules and regulations and, following the letter of the law like Sadducees and Pharisees? No. And your friend said, put on the short dress, and you put on the short dress. That's what, that was one of the ahas. And I was like, yeah, because I used to dress older than I was back in my late 20s and early 30s. I would dress like an older woman. But then when I got divorced, and I was searching like Dana and Patricia. I really was, because I knew. But then when I got divorced and I started dressing according to how I liked, that was a game changer in my self-esteem. That's what that was. That was a game changer in my self-esteem and how I saw myself as a woman, a beautiful woman. And it never occurred to me, wow, God made me like this. This is gorgeous. That was what and the other one was, we were about when you talked about being Blackfoot and Choctaw. I always knew that growing up, my family talked about that.
Keela dropped off. Sometimes she has it was just about to get good. She was just about to get into the Mound people, the Washita. So she'll come back on.
Yeah, that part was good. That Blackfoot and Choctaw, that was awesome.
What did you hear, Dana? What made your belly jump?
Well, what made my belly jump with that piece was just the fact that number one, just you heard it from your father, and you heard it, but it didn't register until later. You know, when you began to do the ancestral work and you had that connection immediately, knowing that, you know, that is a part of your ancestral lineage, knowing that that is a part that you can, you know, call on and align with in your path, in your walk. And that, to me, I was like, wow, that, you know, to know that piece and have grown up hearing it, but not necessarily knowing what to do with it until you get to that point and you're like, oh, now I know who I can call on. Now I know.
And so what Dr. Naila and I represent is calling beyond the tribes that, I'm going to have to mute you because you're typing and I want you to jump back in, but we can hear that. What Dr. Naila and I represent, Dr. G. Naila is such a beautiful name. Sometimes, you know, I know Dr. G is but it just flows out of my mouth like water. Naila. And I know, Dana, you know this through your studies of Bitcoin, money, and currency in terms of your identity, your status as it relates to money. Those are the tribes that they gave us. Those are the tribes that were affected by the divide and conquer. So we call on stuff that was still given to us in the spirit of identity theft. But when we go further beyond the nation, the empire, they came. Those tribes that we call on are the other side of divide and conquer. But those tribes used to be one empire. And that's where we come from. And they were not all transported from what is now called Africa. If you go study the map, there are places that were called Africa right here on this continent. And many of you all know how they redistrict a city. Are you all familiar with redistricting? We call it gentrification. That's when they change the lines of what's considered your county, your city, what's the suburbs and that type of thing. Well, this country has been redistricted several times. So if you're always splitting up the pie, creating borders and all of this, then people don't know that you lose that institutional memory. And so we have spiritual amnesia. We don't know that what is a Washita? So sisters, those of you who are in here, when we use terms, ask the question or go Google it and study it. When the word says study, show thyself approved, you can't just wait for the teacher to show up and give you the answers. The answer key is in your DNA. You just need to be directed to something else. All right. So we're going to keep going here. Pam, are you coming on or not? Are you trying to figure out the technology? Because I've never had this many people on at one time. So anybody else have any ahas or digestions you want to share with Dr. G from our conversation that blessed you, that freed you, that made you more curious? Keela, I'm sorry. I can take you off mute if you're trying to speak. My bad. Unmute. There you go. You muted yourself again. Okay, there you go.
Okay. I was trying to log in on my computer, but because I missed it when my call was dropped. So I missed what you guys. I knew you guys were talking about like the tribes, and we were here before. So I guess I brought that up when I mentioned it. The other thing that was an aha was just the fact that you guys were definitely searching, and Dr. G was in church when she woke up and had her revelation, and she wrote it all in the book of Jeremiah. I thought that was awesome because I was in church when I was receiving my downloads as well. And I started out in the AME church, and then I went to the Baptist, and then I went to Pentecostal. And in the Pentecostal church, I received so many downloads about who we are as a collective group of a collective group of beings on this planet. That resonated with me, hearing you guys talk about that. That was just,
you goddesses,
and we can have fun with this life we live.
You goddesses, you queens, no guys here, no you guys. Did you get that? Keela, did I lose you? I think I lost Keela. Keela, are you there?
I'm having bad reception over here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm having bad reception. I'm gonna have to.
Okay. So I was saying to Keela, because we were in a live session in the business incubator where we are working with women to get their business in order, right? And the sister came on, she was brand new, and she was talking about you guys, you might know who you are. You're in here watching. You guys. I didn't say anything, but so I'm saying it now because Keela is a goddess and she just needs a reminder. But the you guys, be mindful of your language because we evoke masculine energy into feminine spaces and don't even know that we're doing it. Mm-hmm. So welcome, Doctor. You got so many damn names, Pam. I don't even know what the hell to call you. I don't know whether to call you queen. I don't know whether to call you elder. I don't know whether to call Doctor. You are Dr. Pam. What the hell? Tell me what to call you today, girl.
Whatever resonates. It's like every space I go into, they give me a new name.
Listen.
But on my birth certificate is Pamela Hall.
Can I tell them who you are? Or you want to tell them who you are?
Yes, ma'am. You can go ahead.
This beautiful soul joining the conversation has served in many pulpits. She has gone through many journeys while in the church. This beloved soul is a acupuncturist. I met her and know her as Dr. Pam. She has other names because it represents other initiations into other things. So she's been initiated as an Ifa priestess. We have Oshun energy in the house again. Oshun is just everywhere. I just love it. I love it.
Omyo.
Everywhere. This is their year. This is the year. The 5 year is the year that Oshun and Obatala is governing the energy of this year, by the way, for those of you who are watching. And so, and then she has the nerve to be over here teaching people sexual freedom and how to use their body. What, you just had some kind of lingam training the other day, didn't you?
Well, actually, it was in the context of BDSM. It was Submission 101. Submission 101.
Listen. Did somebody put Submission 101 in the comments? If you want to know, we got to have her in the next Juicy 7. She was okay, Pam. I don't want to get off track. Let me explain. What did you hear? What was it that you could tell people a little bit about your story? What did you hear last night? Your ahas and your digestions.
Oh my God.
We cut up in here, y'all, without a knife. We cut up in Rebirth Woman.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. I am still having goosebumps literally all over my body right now. Last night with you and Dr. G, it was just so phenomenal. And it's like last night I kept having like rebirths of healing, like rebirth and reburst. I was having like more and more bursts. I'm like, wow, this is so good. I'm like, oh my God, I would throw my shoe at the screen, but I don't want to break the laptop. It was so good last night. Oh my God.
So because you have been in the journey, you were in the church serving church. I mean, that's how we met.
Mm-hmm.
It was
And I'm still an ordained elder.
We was a bunch of ministers hanging out. Shout out to Elder Vicky Johnson. You
Woo,
know
woo.
you can't be in this discussion without your name coming up. And I know you watching the replay if you're not watching the live. So you got to get in this discussion, Elder Vicky Johnson. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that is how we met, through Elder Vicky Johnson, with one of her soul wealth retreats.
Mm-hmm.
Her soul wealth
I don't
retreat.
even remember, but go ahead.
And with Elder Vicky and I, we used to serve in ministry together. I think she is still over the women's ministry at
Pastor of Women.
this church.
Yeah.
And so I was one of the leaders who served under her. I was over the women's book club, Women of the Hearth, Women of the Home. I've always been concerned about how we are in the home, how we are in our relationships with the opposite sex. During that time, it's actually how I got into Tantra in the first place. And I'm going to try to be as PG as possible.
No, you don't have to be.
Oh, I don't have to be. Oh, snap. You know I'm a Gemini, so the other twin finna come out.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Look
The other
at God.
twin finna come out.
So you're a Gemini from Mississippi who is
Shelby,
free,
Mississippi.
who is free, and you know something about that Choctaw, Natchez Trace, Washita, and all of that. Girl, look at God. I can't make this up. Freedom just looks so good on us. Keep on talking. Dr. G, you see what's happening, right, Dr. G? You see what's happening. You see
I think
So how I got started in the Tantra thing, I was miserably married at that time.
Come on now. They married?
I was married. My ex-husband and I, we were together for 13 years, married for 11 of those 13 years. And we have two beautiful children, which I think are the best things that came out of that. And how I got into Tantra and helping couples, especially women, during the time when I was married. The best thing that we had going for our marriage was the sex, because I did everything to make it fabulous. Because in my humble opinion, if you can't get freaky and out the box with your spouse, who else you gonna get freaky and out the box with? That's the time to let it rip when you're married, especially. And so there were people in the church who would come to me. It started with the women, and then when word started spreading, the men would send their wives. But basically, they wanted me to teach them bedroom skills. And it started out with just leaders, elders in the church. I've taught bishops' wives, I've taught pastors, deacons, elders, ministers' wives how to give head. You told me I had to be PG.
Well, I don't think that's PG at all. Let's play with giving head. Let's play with blowjobs. Let's play with your oral gateway, because this is how I teach it. Some of you sisters know how to use your mouth for the wrong thing, but you don't know how to use it for the right thing, baby.
Ooh, 2 snaps in a circle, as they used to say in Living Color. 2 snaps in a circle. And so that was the beginning of my journey as far as sexual pleasure and birthing that part of me, because so much was suppressed. I mean, when I got married, I wasn't raised in church, first of all, and I always preface that by saying, thank God. Thank God I was not raised in church. Because I think not having been raised and groomed in that environment has helped me to see things from many different vantage points. And getting in church, and when I was married, in the beginning of our marriage, we weren't even allowed to listen to romantic music. We had to play gospel music while we were having sex and making love. And so after a while, and I was not a virgin when I got married, and when I got saved, I was not a virgin. And I said, I can't do this. We just have to have silence, because I can't be, sucking on you while listening to Jesus will fix it after a while. I just can't. I just can't do it.
I have heard so many stories, but I promise this is why I want to hear you. I think women should tell their story. This is why we have spaces like this. So it's one thing to be all out here highlights, but girl, do you know you just blessed somebody right now who's listening in the comments? I didn't know that what kind of denomination expected you to listen to Jesus fix it while you giving head?
Apostolic.
Any apostolic people in the tribe in the comments, go on and just put an A in the comments.
Yep, apostolic. And it was very stringent. They're still like that. There's some who to this day don't speak to me because I'm divorced. I wear makeup, I wear jewelry, I wear pants. So in their eyes, I'm no longer saved.
Wait a minute. Stay with this thing. I need to stay with this. So that explains. So if Dr. G, when you think about of the denominations, is apostolic the most rigid or strict?
From my experience, and I was in an apostolic ministry before I, received the call to start my own non-denominational ministry, but I've been around a lot of apostolics and Kojic.
Okay.
And the interesting thing that I found about that ministry that I was in, which was a very large ministry in my city for the city, and that as holy as they were in the pulpit and during the course of services and so forth, they were freaky deaky after the benediction.
Come on now, listen.
And there was inner circles, and there were things, there was everything, but anything and everything going on in those inner circles. And I always was fortunate enough to be in the circle, but in the outer inner circle. So I never had to participate in the foolishness, and never I don't know where I was, that I was protected. I was sort of in a bubble, but I would find out what was going on. And I wouldn't be judgmental, but it did shape what I did when I started in ministry myself. There were some I'll nevers that and there's sometimes you say I'll never, and you do some things. I mean, I've had experience where, since we're being open and honest, a bishop who started out as my pastor. I remember the first time, I didn't grow up in the church either. So I had some, I don't know what happened. When tragedy runs you to the church, something happens. And I ran to the church because my girlfriend, a good friend girl, was, her sister was sick, and we had a singing group, and she wasn't going to sing anymore because her sister was sick and she had found Jesus to get her sister healed. So I followed her into the church, and that's how I got there. We were singing R&B and having a good time. Now I'm in the church, but I'm in Kojic church. And in that particular ministry, I only stayed for about a year and a half, and then I left. But by the time tragedy struck in my own life, I went to church, met the pastor, was a young pastor who'd been a pastor in ministry since he was like 12. So he was seasoned. He was a little bit younger than me. And I remember the first time he asked me to pick him up. He was married, and I picked him up. We were going to go to another town for a choir, because I sang in his choir. He played keyboard. He was a pastor and all that. And he had a cigarette in his hand. When he got in my car, he lit up the cigarette, and he said, "You don't mind, do you?" And that was back in in the day, in the 80s, and I was early 80s, and I was like, no. But then there are tests that they do. How far can we go? First with a cigarette, and then I began to hear rumors that many of the women in the choir had relationships with this man, but he never approached me that way. And then one year, I had a roommate who moved in, a woman I allowed to live with me, and he and her somehow hooked up, and he did. And I was divorced, and he introduced me to another pastor friend of his. And that had that one encounter. And I realized I didn't come to church for this.
Listen, I bet this is why we need a support group. And I have created one for us to be able to do this healing work, to heal the addictions and the effects of spiritual trauma and abuse, because I have stories in the mosque. The
Yeah.
same kind of story that you just gave, and now you add, for those of you don't think because you not in the church you better, because it happens in these so-called conscious circles, these so-called the people who want to practice polygamy or open marriages, but you ain't done no work on yourself, but you want to come and put your lingam inside me, a high vibrational woman, just because you want the thrill of an orgasm. And so you attach yourself to gurus who tell you about how it's wrong to be monogamous, and you just as dogmatic as the people who are monogamous. Come on now. And don't get me started on vegans. Just because you're vegan, you're not better because you're vegan and because you don't eat meat. I remember when I first stopped eating pork. And in my baby food understanding, I thought I was better to a degree, or I looked down on someone. But just because you're vegan, you are in a religion of veganism, and if you are not free, you are still handicapped as well. And so this spiritual abuse happens on the sexual level. Why do we think it happens on this sexual level? Because this is where people have to hide so much. This is where your authentic self. So we force people with man-made religions to hide and to be authentic, and then rewarded with access into these circles of lasciviousness. But I won't go there. It happens to us.
Yeah, and then there's also that particular denomination has a high level of, and I know all these. I want to make sure I'm PC.
Well, we're trying to be PC and not make anybody feel bad about
right.
where you are,
right? Because I'm not trying to do that. But there were a lot of women, we called it being turned out in those environments, and you saw a lot of the, you begin to see that, and that was one of the first times my particular pastor at that time put a friend of his on the phone to talk to me. She was the daughter of a prominent pastor not far from where I domicile now. And I remember her getting on the phone asking me if I were saved. Of course I was saved. At least I thought I was. And then she said to me, because I can give you peace like a river overflowing. And I'm like, I'm on the phone. My pastor is there, because they're in the same place, and this woman is saying this to me. So like I said, they go more. How much are you willing to allow? And to this day, I haven't spoken to him in maybe about a year and a half or so. But I forgave him for the things, and then I told him things like, I remember when we came to his house for for things. I said, you had books on your shelf on mind control. And he did. I said, way back then, early 80s, you knew, 1982, you knew the truth, but yet you stood in the pulpit and preached your heart. Sweeping down victory. You had the women in the choir falling out. And then later on, they were falling down, to service him. And so it was, when we were able to talk about things, and I'm not sure what happened, but I heard that, someone from his past may have come back and put through some accusations. And I'm not going to mention his name, but when I Googled his name last year, he was in custody.
Oh, this is true. Listen, there is so much that gets swept under the rug in these small circles. So we never really know what a person is coming into. And I can only say this and leave it alone because, this is technically, in many ways, this is a public broadcast. And this is why we have to have our private spaces to be able to share and still not even have to name names. You don't have to name names because this is an energy. This is what I want you all to hear. Don't get caught up in the personality. These are energies. And when you study energy and begin to manage your own first, then and know your natal chart, because it will tell you how to navigate your light and your shadow. And then you can recognize it in other things. These are energies. And when you have a devil, a hell and damnation consciousness, sometimes you cannot know the difference between an energy, and it's easy to get fixed on somebody's right or wrong. So when we talk about this, I could never name that. Like I don't even have to name names. So, and this is a big fear in many of these esteemed communities is they are afraid of people naming. And this is how we have these scandals. This is how we have years of people not saying anything. People ask questions like, why is it that people don't tell? What keeps you a lot of times is the good girl and the bad girl, which I want to transition. And I know we're going over time a little bit. We usually do 1 hour power, but this is rich. This debrief is rich for the rest of this year and what we have to do for the rest of this year, y'all. Getting in alignment and being ahead and not reacting to what's happening. This is powerful. You know, it's so powerful to hear my sister's stories because I know women who have been ruined by the spiritual abuse that because of their love of God. And it could have been me. There for the grace of God, go I. I was obedient. I took on this journey at 18 years old at Southern University. I just fell in love with God. I always had a love for God. I thought that I was going to be a nun. And I could have easily just been caught up in some of these circles if I had not been careful. And maybe I was on the cusp. And I found out while I was trying to be the good girl and the good Muslim and I didn't know how many people was hooking up in the back room. I had no idea. Then when I started to know, because here's the thing, and I know this applies to a lot of people in this space, when you start to know, it gives you access when you don't tell. So leadership privilege comes with what appears like privileges to address your unmet needs, to belong to something. So your psychology, but when you are whole in yourself, you don't have to belong to that anything that does not serve to take you high. But I said this is a debrief in a discussion. Anybody else want to jump in on something you've already heard, Patricia or Dana, because I do want to hear a little bit more from Dr. Pam. Dana, I don't know if you're frozen. I don't know if Dana's frozen. I think Dana might be frozen because she hasn't moved in a long time. So Dana, if you can hear but you can't move, just come back in. So Dr. Pam, I wanted to ask you a little bit more. We went into the direction of the sexuality, but when I met you, we were just talking about what it has done to us, even trying to belong in some of these ministerial circles.
And honestly, with everything that goes on and the politics and all this stuff, because like Dr. G talked about being at the circle, but on the outside of the circle, when I was going through my divorce process, because my ex-husband was in ministry, I was in ministry as well. And I had left the church, but the only people I had ever hung around were, because like hangs with like, musicians tend to hang with musicians, singers with singers, preachers with preachers. So that was all I knew, being around pastors and bishops and elders and ministers of music and stuff like that. And that was when I found myself like in the center of the circle. People trying to, like draw you in. Oh, girl, I'm so sorry. Oh, he's stupid for letting you go. They had already heard, everybody already knew about my classes and everything. They already knew that was the best thing we had going on, because whenever he got an erection, I was on it, literally and figuratively, I was on it. So they already knew I had a high sex drive. And so I found myself being drawn into the circle. And like you said, if you can keep your mouth shut, and like Dr. G said, it started out with a little thing. First, after service, you find yourself being invited back to the hotel, like, oh, wow. And you thinking, especially if you have abandonment issues. And it's like they target certain people. Usually it's women who grew up in single parent homes, who grew up poor, people who were typically outliers or never really fit in, and to give you a sense of belonging and all of that. And then you find yourself making excuses for them.
Well, I don't know if it's a conscious activity, but it is the inheritance that's in the fabric of the church, of the traditional church as we know it. And that is why, if you're watching, I often say, and some women get mad at me when they say that they're free just because they left a church or the church. And I say, baby, you ain't free. You just left the church. And people get mad at me. People have told me they got mad at me. I didn't know. So I don't say that no more. But my point is that when you say that they target it, that's the focus on the person. It's in the fabric of the institution. And we don't deal with it. We just toss it under. We don't ask why. We don't ask why was it okay for little boys in the beginning of the church history to be a tool. We don't look at why little boys were castrated. We don't look at the story of the children who were in the private school who were deaf, who were being, it's documented. But if we go and look and look at this type of thing, why don't we don't ask these questions? One is because sex magic is very much a part of
it. That's it. That's where I was going. That's
go ahead.
So because they see that energy. Like I had the Oshun energy long before I even knew who Oshun was.
That's right.
The energy was there. And that is what they hone on or hone into, that energy, so that they can tap into it and use it, because sex energy is powerful energy. Sex energy is creative energy. And so they tap into that. And so the more I began to, once I was able to get away from that, it was like a 6-month little spell. But once I got out of that and started delving deeper into Tantra and tantric energy and sex magic and things like that, then the eyes of my understanding began to open up even farther. Mm-hmm. Where I began to see, like, okay, sex magic is creative magic. And I began to see why, like, okay, now it makes sense why after a really high service, I would be horny as all get out. Sister Patrice is laughing at me. I couldn't understand the correlation between the two. But our sex drive, our sexuality, the sex energy is creative energy. It is God force energy. And
God energy, but as a woman, though, we've talked about this thing that happens when you are where are you now in terms of how do you see your ministry now that you are more free?
My ministry is kind of like how it started out, but just as a more, just not in the shadows anymore, helping people to enjoy sex. Like when you go on my Instagram page, you see everything that I do is to help you heal so that you can enjoy intimacy and have better sex and relations.
Another surprise into the room. Another surprise just entered the room, baby. Sorry to cut you off, Dr. Pam, but I had Dr. G. So this is an OG in the rebirth community, is my sister who I hadn't seen in person until I saw her on the House of Reawakening Minds the other day. I just had to cut. She's working, but listen, if you look at the screen, right? Look at how the device, you already know what I'm getting ready to say, right, Patricia? You got Obatala at the top, Obatala on the side, and 2 Oshun holding down the bottom. People don't even know what they're looking at. Come on in the room, my funny phone,
Oshun. Hello, Risa. How y'all doing up in here? It's good to be. So I'm going to chill and listen up and contribute what I can. I do my bidding.
Listen, we just debriefing on the conversation with Dr. G last night in terms of how we got free. And Dr. Pam is up in here talking about all this sex magic. And I done had my other sisters talking about how they got free from the pulpit and women didn't want women to preach in the church. I mean, we've been covering the gambit. PJ is from New Orleans. I affectionately call her PJ because that's how we know her. And she's gone on. I can't even say all of that Iya, Oya, Osun, Oya.
Oh, sure, yeah. Wait a minute.
I'm just cutting up.
It's not as hard as it sounds. Just think Oshun, and it's spelled the traditional way instead of Oshun.
Yeah.
The dots belong under the S.
So
Oshun, yeah.
Dr. G is here.
I see Dr. G.
Hi, PJ. Love you.
I love you more if that's possible.
So so we were talking about you at the top, and just how just seeing you got me to make a move and to do something, because I got all this Taurus energy, and that Taurus energy is stubborn. So when Spirit kept saying, reach out to your sister, this is your sister, this is your reverend sister, I wouldn't do it because I don't be jocking for people. You know how we say it in New Orleans, I don't be jocking for nobody. And so anyway, I had to humble that, because I was hearing the directive to reach. And so I thank you, PJ, for being you, for standing up in your call, because guess what? Every time we stand up in our freedom, we give permission to another sister like us to be free in the moment, free in the season, free in to answer the next call on their lives. So PJ, we've been talking about freedom. So I'm gonna ask you a question, because I know you don't have that much time. How did you get free from traditional religion? What woke you up?
That's a good question. So of course, it was a process, right?
Absolutely.
I think, and funny thing is, I probably have to start with Jamal Bryant's father and his mother, because the power, the ashe in their prayer was just incredible. I experienced that. But I remember being at Bethel AME, and I just could not wrap my head around the devil. I was getting, I felt like I was getting closer to the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit. But the devil to me just didn't make sense. It's like, damn, how are we gonna say God is all this goodness? And I know it hurts me to whip my children, and God gonna send me to eternal damnation. So I was struggling with that. And when my mother came to me after she transitioned, I started exploring options, New Age options. And believe it or not, it was like Wayne Dyer and Doreen Virtue that led me to A Course in Miracles.
Which led me to you.
That's right. So my study of A Course in Miracles got me going. And I came to realize why I didn't believe in the devil and why I could see myself as a divine being, because of course reminds us I am the Holy Son of God, right?
That's right.
And then guess what? I was at this point going to Jamal's church. My mother came to me in a dream in the back of a church. We were in the last row, and she told me it was time to go.
Wow. I just got chills.
That's when I started exploring like unity. And then I explored science of mind. So I got into, the science of mind philosophy and became a science of mind practitioner.
Wow.
And as a science of mind practitioner, it started coming to me. I miss ritual. I want to do a baptism or something. Ritual just, the tradition of the church, ritual. Do something, y'all. Give me some rituals. then my ancestors started moving shit all over my house, and T and I were together, and he'd be witness, and we'd get messages. He would witness things were going on. And I was at my center when I said, I didn't know anything about Ifa. Unlike you, LaTanya, I knew nothing about Ifa. And if somebody had come to me about it, I would have probably told them, go ahead on with that, all that, stuff. I'm not trying to get blacker than black. I'm okay. I've been through it. So we had a segment at our center that we talk about It Works, spiritual practices that
I love that book. I love it.
Yeah.
So I have that book in most of my sessions, group sessions, by the way. It works.
It works. So it was like a testimonial segment in our church, in our center, because we didn't call ourselves a church. where we get up and talk about our spiritual practices. And by this time, our center had dwindled down to maybe we'd have a dozen people showing up. But that day I'm getting up and I'm saying, you know what, my ancestors want to talk to me. I have no idea what they're trying to tell me, or really, because Mama would give me messages and I'm winning, giving T numbers to go to the racetrack. But I'm like, I don't know how to call them and utilize them when I want to. So I don't know what they're trying to tell me.
Well, you fast forwarding up to free, the free PJ. I'm talking about. I want to go back.
Oh, okay.
We know the free. Some people are just getting acquainted with you, the priestess, and all that stuff. But I like for people to know the journey, because I like for people who are on the journey right now to know they are not alone, particularly those who are in spiritual leadership in some way, because it's you who are the shapeshifters. It's you who are going to interrupt. And one thing about PJ that I want to share is we were in a social club. I shared this with Dr. G last night. We were in a social club. You know, we like to party in New Orleans. And so we were in a social club, but PJ would always post something in the language that I knew, because I'm a metaphysician. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I might be younger than some of y'all, but I've been on this journey longer than many of the people. That's 20 some years. And so when I knew when she was talking and we started communicating, and she told me about the angels. Well, neither one of us was aware of the ancestors then, but that was the ancestors that brought us together, because angels is another word for ancestors. For those of you who are comfortable talking about angels, every one of them, it represents an orisha, it represents an energy, it represents something in your chart. So therefore, there is nothing new under the sun. That's why you are an ancient woman, sisters, when you are looking. And so that connected us back then when we were talking about angels. Angels.
That's right.
PJ was an angel practitioner, and I
angel therapy practitioner, got certified. No,
look at you, but your ancestors were certifying you then.
They brought me along gently. They did. Yes.
Oh, I got chills.
One of my attributes, I think, because I think I know what you're saying. What caused me to pull away? One of my attributes, which has always been placed upon me as a burden, as a rebelliousness, is I have always seemed to have gone against the grain. I don't know if any of you are like that. It's been a challenge for me, really, as a part of my life, because I've been willing to go against the grain. So I think that's why they kind of chose me, or you'll be the one to take the legacy to where we needed to go. But yeah,
I just love the fact that you are the 13th of 13 children, which is the divine number, and the 13 is the mother, honey. That is the great cosmic mother calling her children back to her. And I know that's my divine assignment. Is I am on this planet in service to the great cosmic mother and calling her daughters to do her work. And I've been doing it for all these years. And some of y'all been fighting me. And what you don't know is you fighting that fixed position that you have held based on whatever traditionalism oftentimes and other kinds of hiding. So in closing, this is so rich to me. And this is such a, everything happened today spontaneous. I was supposed to be talking to you today about spiritpreneurs who win, because this is the winning season for those who want to get in the game. I was supposed to be talking to you about spiritpreneurs who win. But Dr. G happened spontaneously. And it was so full for me, and I'm still digesting and processing. And I just want to pass the mic over to those of you all who want to just share even ahas and digestions in this session. And maybe we'll have a part 2. Maybe we'll find. But what I want to do for those of you who are watching, if you know that you are in religious recovery and you are interested in healing yourself through a process through your religious recovery. I have something that I have beta tested once already. It is getting ready for you. So if you want to get in the view position, the first responder position, I need you to put RR in the if you just want to go through and to experience your own religious recovery process. Okay. And so I want to go pass the mic over to my sisters to share any ahas or digestions just in our time. Dr. G, if this is not evidence that we have to keep on working with this, that we were called together, and PJ, even just the way that she was used. And I hadn't seen my sister since she bidded me off to Costa Rica. You know, I had to pause and get a little misty eyed on that.
And that's funny. The last time I had seen PJ, we were actually in Puerto Rico together. Yes.
Yeah. PJ was has been a part of very private and small circles, who has always been one who's saying, come on, girl, you need to be doing this. Haven't you, PJ? Never intimidating, never competing, never any of that energy. And PJ, I want to tell you this publicly. You know, a lot of times I didn't even know what I was saying. I could see your eggoons when you would be dancing in second line. But we'll talk about that offline.
And he's still jumping in me. Look, let's get up and dance.
Yeah, that buck jump, baby. That buck jump. Y'all think y'all be bucking in the church because you just got the organ went off good. But what you don't know is you oftentimes, your ori is activated and you can't control what's happening over your ori. You think that you bucking and you shouting and all of that. But honey, there's something else happening. That's why the old ladies in the church say, don't fan the Holy Spirit, baby. Don't fan it. They say, don't fan the Holy Spirit, because they don't know you need to be with that energy. Don't fan the Holy Spirit. But when I get on here and I start fanning, that's because I don't want them to come right now. So anyway, I pass the mic over to you all to be able to share any digestions. We're just gonna have to. I see the RRs in the comment section. I'm gonna send you only the people who say they are ready. The information that's gonna be ready for you in a few weeks. All right. So, anyone passing the mic over to my sisters? Any and then Dr. G, you can be last to wrap up. Chantel said, wow, so much information. People are saying, oh my God, this is so true. Oh my God, and listen, participate with this. Listen, sisters, share your ahas. I want all the ahas. Anybody who was listening right now, share your aha. Be as concise as possible. Anybody who will get to the digestion, something you heard that's a little uncomfortable for you, but you need to process it a little bit. Put those digestions in there. Put digestion semicolon in there. Go on, get busy so that you can participate. Don't be on the sidelines just watching. Participate in your freedom, in your breakthrough right now. Ask a question if you're watching. Ask a question to one of the sisters of something you heard them say. So they're getting ready to close out. You got time to do it. I see you all loading up the comments. Keep it, and I want to be able to hear from you, okay? This isn't a Zoom group. This is Rebirth Woman in Facebook. And if you want to, go to LaTonyaTaylor.com to join the Facebook group. Go to LaTonyaTaylor.com. Keela, if you're watching, can you put my website in the comments? LaTonyaTaylor.com in the comments for me, so that people can go directly. Okay. All right, you all got it. Patricia, let's start with you. And just today, what have you heard? What you're feeling? What ahas, the digestion you have?
I'm feeling excited. I've searched for a group like this to be free. I'm ready, to walk and to be able to say what I need to say, to be free in speaking what I need to do. That's probably more general, but just to be free. This is me.
Okay.
That's my aha. Because I'm in a group and I heard somebody say something they said, well, there's one of their relatives who were into crystals, and I'm like, but that's me. Like, I'm doing that. But I'm in a group of women ministers, but yeah, the aha is like, it's time to walk in my divine calling.
And what's that? Do you want to say it? Do you want to name it?
I'm not going to name it right now, but
Okay.
but it's to walk in my divine.
But that's all right. We're going to work on it in private coaching. We're going to work on it in the business incubator. That's why you're here, to spread your wings. Keep going. All right. Dana, any ahas or digestions just in this space, in this time? Can you talk?
Listen, Dr. Pam, you just gave me life, honey. When she said, look, I can't be sucking you off to no religious music. I can't do that. I was like, it's my sister. But see, that's that good girl piece. You know, that's that good girl piece that we often fall into. You know, you go into these religious churches, and you're programmed. I hate saying that, but it's true. You're programmed to be the good girl and to listen to the gospel music and to read your Bible and to pray with your partner, but they don't tell you to get juicy with it. And that's why I so appreciate the community, the teachings, the this is like our own red tent.
Yes, it is.
This is our own modern day red tent. And I have so much appreciation for all of you women on here sharing your stories and being able to, give hope to others when they thought there wasn't any hope. Because, even I was in that position at one time. And to hear even my sister PJ's story, and, just to relive those moments and hearing the stories, even I may have heard the stories 2 or 3 times, but just to hear it over and over, it's like a renewed strength. And so I do appreciate, this space, because it gives you the opportunity to hear from a woman, hear her experiences, and know that it's okay. Everything that you had in the back of your mind, it's okay. It's all right to move forward. So that's my aha today.
Thank you so much for joining us, beautiful spirit. So good to see you. This is Dana.
Love y'all.
Love you too. Dana works directly on my team. She will be one of the juicy coaches that you will get a chance to work with. We've had a little bit of rerouting just from the 2020. 2020 has been the rerouting for some of the programs that we have had. But I want to I just want to give an opportunity a little bit more for the rest of you who are my esteemed sisters in ministry, in your own ministry, right? To be able to share. And so, PJ, I know that you had limited amount of time and you're catching up, but I do want to invite you to watch the replay, both of Dr. G and today, and we'll figure out, we got to huddle. We got to figure out, we can't be talking about doing it anymore. We got to do this. Our sisters need us. They need to be free. I understand, PJ, you can relate to this, right? We come from the goddess circles that many of them are exploring their sexuality. They're doing all kinds of things, and there's some of them are a little younger. I'm realizing that I'm auntie to a lot of these people because I got to accept that. I joined this journey so long ago, but I feel like there's that woman in the middle a lot of times that gets left behind. And I feel called to that woman. Whew. This is when you in your wheelhouse. I can control this feeling that in sharing is, if I didn't have a space like Inner Visions with my ear to go where women were free. And there were women who had been in the nation, who were in the church, and they were but they were queens in their body. And if I hadn't seen that, and it began with me saying, I want to heal myself, sisters. And when they say that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That's when you sometimes have to say yes to something that's unlike you. And so, we come from a space where a lot of the women are they're on the other extreme, in my opinion, a little bit of the other extreme of their freedom. It looks different. But there's a woman in the middle who that's not going to appeal to. There's a woman in the middle who didn't grow up struggling, who felt, you talked about this when you were with Dr. G. You said you were poor, but you didn't know you were poor because you came from a culture and a community where that's not something that we would be living in poorness. But I know that there's even those who are in the middle, the good girls. You went to school, you got good grades, you weren't the rebel, you followed the rules, you married. And here comes Dr. Pam, who says miserably married. We need to talk to the sisters who are miserably married because they are the most afraid, because their comfort zones, they're in Rebirth Woman. They tell me, they inbox me. They quit the process early because it gets too uncomfortable to think I could be this free. Because the truth is, they're married women who are miserable, but they are just too afraid to step out. Or if they have stepped out, they're too ashamed to admit it. So the woman in the middle, that woman, I think that's the rebirth woman. PJ, you want to wrap us up? And then Dr. G, I'm going to save the best for last for today, because it started with us last night. That's what I mean by that. We're all better than just good, bad. I mean, good, gooder, and better. That's why I got rid of Good Girls Gone Goddess, because I let go of qualifiers of our womanhood in terms of good. So, PJ, you want to say anything?
I definitely have to listen to the rebroadcast of the two of you. I know it was fire. And what I also wanted to point out is that those of us who are called to do this, which, believe it or not, all of you have been called, I know I would be probably batshit crazy if I wasn't doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's what happens with many of us. We miss the opportunity to answer our calling, our passion, and our purpose.
Yes, yes, yes.
So when you say, what called me, what made me do it, I would be somewhere miserably depressed.
Come on now.
I wasn't expressing myself and sharing my stories and helping all of us awaken to this power within, this juiciness within. So, Rev Coach, we got to do the work to save our own selves.
Yeah.
Because if I weren't, I don't know where I would be. So I'm just glad. And I feel you. I feel like my calling are those people who are on the precipice. They're right there. It's like, it's something more to this. It's something more. So I'm helping them tilt over, and really it begins, it all begins by recognizing, where's God? Where's God? Where's God?
Come on now.
There she is.
That's right.
There she is.
Everybody that's watching, just grab your head right now. Just grab your head right now. Bless your head right now. You don't have to know any particular prayer or language, but just say to yourself, I bless the spirit of my head.
Bless the spirit of my head.
There she is. So when we activate that, see, all of you, you don't realize right now, you're giving yourself Reiki even, because I know you felt it.
I did.
When you declare and you do that, and you touch that ori, that space, acknowledgement of who you are, you have already activated a power within yourself. So y'all going on and do this stuff. Do it fiercely and awaken all that juiciness. Rev, we about to, what?
Girl, you want me to play something? We have dance breaks in here. I can save the second line. You can go on mute. And then when we could do a little jig for them and we can close this thing out with some real hip energy.
Well, you see, it hit me yesterday at lunchtime. I was like, look, y'all, this is lunchtime. I'm on Facebook doing my dance. So it hits us. And as we awaken, you will begin to express and find more joy and more bliss in your life than you ever really imagined. So
it's absolutely the truth. That's the some of you all want the promise. That's the promise right there.
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Join us.
Yes, thank you. Good to see you, Dr. G.
Good to see you, PJ. Good to see you, sis. Did she leave us?
Oh, wow.
How'd I get over there?
There
you are. Okay. I was like, where'd you go?
I'm here. I don't doubt that. I don't need to be doing too much technical stuff because this mercurial being in my hands, Gemini governs the hands. And if I got to do too much in my head with my hands while I'm trying to be a channel. Yes, so Dr. Pam, any ahas or digestions in terms of you just coming in between last night and this today? And
yes, oh my God. First of all, thank you, Ia, for allowing me to be in space with such greatness and
let me qualify
feminine energy. Oh my God.
Thing before I get in trouble, because
well, Ia also means mother.
I know. No, trust me. There. I just want to qualify this for the public. There are many people who call me their Ia, and I have children that call me their Ia. So when you hear Ia, it is not just mean that I've already been crowned. So I want to say that in honor to the process that I'm getting ready to embark on in terms of being crowned. And I want to honor and humble myself to all of the Ias who have been crowned. And so that's what I'm doing. But there are sisters in this community who call me Dr. Taylor, but I don't have, my mama said I got a PhD in common sense. I know, or PhD in cosmology. I am truly a metaphysician. But I just want to give that context to people who are coming in, because there's so many people calling themselves by titles that they have not even qualified or honored the process of. And I don't want to model that for all these brujas who don't have no accountability, all these people who calling themselves So I have an accountability, and so that's I want to give it to my Ori first. So anyway, go ahead. I receive it. I'm not rejecting it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And that's another thing I love about you. You are always, for as long as I've been following you, and I started following you in the shadows when you were doing Good Girl Gone Goddess. So I've been following you for a long time. So I was one of those people that you were talking about a couple of minutes ago who wanted to be free, didn't know how to be free, and was praying to be led to someone who could show me what freedom looks like. And I found you on Facebook. I don't know how we started being friends on Facebook. I don't know, but I'm thankful. And my aha moment from last night and today is that you are the display, the personification of perpetual rebirth and divine alignment. And every time I hear you speak, every time I see your posts, it's a brand new aha, a daily aha for me to be reminded every day to say yes to divine purpose and divine alignment. You had set an intention to do one thing on today.
Yes.
But Spirit said to go another way. It would have been easy to say, no, this is what I intended to do today, so I'm going to stick to the plan. But doing a perpetual daily rebirth and daily yes to the divine, you just automatically shifted. A rebirth of thought in that moment, you automatically shifted and was like, this is what I'm going to do. So my aha for last night and today is not being afraid to shift, not being afraid to step out of what I had planned and step out into what spirit wants to do. Because when we do that, we don't have a plan. We plan for what we plan for. And when spirit says, no, don't do that, I want you to do this, then it's stepping into a level of complete surrender and complete trust. And I
Yes.
thank you for being the reminder of that to me every day, to surrender, to say yes, to being divinely led, divinely inspired, and creating a space, a sacred space for healing, and for allowing people to know it's okay to be publicly free.
Yeah, come on now. Talk about public freedom.
It's okay
It
to be
hadn't been
publicly
easy
free.
getting here, but Lord knows.
So that is my takeaway for today. Because through following you,
Okay.
I learned that it's okay to be publicly free, because in your public freedom is how other people get free.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was awesome.
All right. Woo! Y'all are something else. I didn't know I was gonna get misty eyes. Y'all not gonna make my eyes sweat up in here today. See, I said I was gonna do this, and then I'm gonna come to the comments and I'm gonna close out with Dr. G. Okay, that's fair, right? That's fair, y'all. PJ, I'm clicking up. Man, I'm trying to get this computer to work. Can you hear PJ?
I hear you.
I'm trying to add you to the stream and turn the music up and everything.
I don't have a lot of space here, so I might. Yeah.
PJ.
Hey! Yeah, Latanya.
Woo! That's when the beat falls, right there, right about there at that when the beat drops. So that was I feel like funking it up by Rebirth Brass Band. We have a whole story about Rebirth Brass Band and their role in how I rebirth. It's part of my story, and I have to share the time. So thank you, Dr. Pam. Thank you, PJ. I want to close out with Dr. G in honor and respect to her time, the fact that she's been able to stay on here all this time with us. And it's been I feel like this was a revival session. A revival session for us. And so, Dr. G, I don't take it lightly that you are here and that you were able to stay in this space with us today. And so I just want to wrap up and close. Any ahas or anything you want to share just in terms of your work?
Just want to say to
we're gonna bring out all of that.
Right. I guess I would just like to say to those that are listening from a standpoint of walking in your purpose, living out your purpose, that you're never too old or too young to begin doing it. I think the younger, the better. But for those who are like myself, my awakening happened, I was 55. I'm going to be 66 next month. So I want to say that don't let age, don't let the various things that we've talked about, being stuck in a marriage that may not be fulfilling. I can talk about that. But whatever your purpose is, now is the time to actually find, or to at least open yourself up to receiving your download of your information. It's always been coming. But when you begin to focus on wanting to know, what your purpose is, the answers will come. And I think, like I said, we talked about it. I have a son that's your age, but I look to you. Yeah, yeah. But I look to you, in as if you were, my Ia, in the sense of where you are. I respect where you are. I respect where you are. I respect what you came in with. And there is so much to learn, even though, may have degrees, my doctorate is in theology, but I was like Paul, once I woke up and like I counted all dung. But then I had to go back and kind of relearn this stuff. So I appreciate the journey that you have taken, and the fact that you don't have a problem bringing others along the way with you. Because of that, you're going to go far. You're going to go far, farther than you probably have ever imagined. Even though you have millions of people who watch you in your counseling, aside from your teacher, you are seen as a teacher. And with much respect and honor, I appreciate the opportunity to be in the space with you and with all the ladies that are here.
Thank you, Dr. G. My honor. My honor. So, sisters, today we're going to just close out this super session, this super debrief session, and continue to build. I'm going to put a few surveys in the chat. You all have been chatting so much. I got away from some. I'm going to try to take 3 of your ahas. Someone said on Facebook, and it's so needed. I appreciate being able to speak freely of my sexuality as a part of my whole being. And I have always felt it was an integral part of me. Another sister on YouTube who's watching said, this was inspired by spirit. I have been making changes in my life, and it has gotten easier to speak the truth and stand on my square. Come on, sister. Islam to you. I am the one that people come to, and I'm seeing the power. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna take. I said 3, right? So someone said they felt the Holy Spirit at a very young age. It jumped. I can't find it. Oh, there it is. I felt the Holy Spirit at a very young age, and every time I do that, it moves. But I think it's the same person who said that they left the church. So I'm just saying some of the comments. Someone said this was a great discussion. I came on late. I'll have to go back to the beginning. My freedom has been pulling me for years. So thank you all for joining and sharing. Continue to share. You all know I come back into the comments, and we're going to just stop for now. But join me at latanyataylor.com. If you are interested in your own religious recovery, just put RR in the comments. Also, get your Shift Everything gift, because shift happens when you call it forth. And sometimes it's just one thing that creates a domino effect. So just go to 844-601-0700, 844-601-0700, and text Rebirth 360 to that number to claim your Shift Everything gift, or go right to latanyataylor.com. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. See you all on the other side.